Hello and welcome back, everyone. Happy Wednesday. Today we are going to be doing a rundown of Tinto Talks number 47, which does kind of go into some detail on trade, mainly through the lens of looking at the UI. There was going to be a different topic for a dev diary, but they had to delay it, and so what we are going to be getting is the market UI. So without further ado, because we really like economy and we want to get into it, let's get into it. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another Tinto Talks, the Happy Wednesday, where we will give you some information about our entirely secret upcoming game with the codename of Project Caesar, or as some people like to pronounce it, Project Teaser, or Tizar. This is a little bit interesting in the sense that I feel like Johan's leaving us some clues with his capitalization here. Everyone and welcome, strange capitalizations, but the not strange one is, of course, the capitalization of happy. As a holiday, Happy Wednesday should always be capitalized, but let's continue. As mentioned in the forum, we have a change of schedule to this week. They have changed from the new in-depth union is not 100% ready to be talked about, and so we're going to be getting a Tinto talk on the UI, and that's this one here. But to be fair, I'm super excited about reading about the trade UI because we get a little bit of hints about how trade is going to work. Today we'll go through some of the market screen and show how it's used in game. Here I will be playing as Sweden, naturally, and this is the 6th iteration of the UI we have done for the economy system as we keep iterating upon it to make it more and more player friendly. Our goal has been to give you important information at a glance and reduce the amount of clicks you have to do anything to a minimum, which of course is going to be great. Hopefully they also reduce the amount of tooltips and nested tooltips, but we see a lot of different modifiers here, which are going to be what can give you an advantage or disadvantage in the sphere of trade, such that you either want to lean into it or you want to maybe do something else with your time in terms of, or time, effort, gold, whatever resources you have available to you. We see trade efficiency, production efficiency at the top ones. These seem the most important. Trade advantage, market attraction, market protection. Market protection is an interesting type of modifier. Trade range, trade capacity, and trade maintenance. We see has presence, and our presence is in primarily the Riga market and a little bit in the Lubeck market. At the top of the screen, you can see the balance tab for all your fund sliders, and trade tab is where all your trades are shown. So let's see, balance, fund sliders, markets showing some of the trades, and trading will show what trades you have currently going on, or markets shows a whole bunch of modifiers, and presence it appears. First, let's explain all the keywords you see here. Do let's, and this is kind of the exciting part. Trade efficiency, this modifies how much gold you get from trades by directly impacting the price of the good you sell in the target market. A negative will decrease your profit and could even make the trade unprofitable if the margins are low enough. It'll be interesting to see if this is going to create value out of nothing, or if this is just going to increase the amount by which you increase the price at the target place, which in turn would decrease the amount of trade volume you could do in the end. But we see trade efficiency minus 2.23%, I think there. It's a little bit hard to make out, but it's how much gold you get from trades, but which is it by directly impacting the price of the goods you sell. This implies to me that it is not a free money modifier, and it does in fact, or will in fact, decrease the volume of trade you can do in exchange for, you getting more money. Production efficiency, this impacts the output of buildings. A positive production efficiency increases profit, while a negative one may make it not worth keeping open. And so this is a little bit of an interesting modifier in that if you stack a whole bunch of production efficiency, you don't necessarily have to be as trade oriented, but if you're super trade oriented, you don't necessarily have to produce the goods yourself, and it is interesting to think about if there are opportunities to specialize one or the other, which one is better to specialize, or which ones are better to specialize in what context. Maybe if you are in the new world, stacking a bunch of production efficiency is better because you have all the expensive goods yourself, and you stack the production efficiency, you build more of those goods, people will then trade to you in order to extract the wealth, and they'll take their cut, but it is more worth your buckets of ducats markets to increase your production efficiency rather than increasing some sort of trade efficiency. Trade advantage of a country in a market determines who will be able to get their exports fulfilled first. If there is a limited amount of supply of goods in a market, they get distributed by trade advantage that each country has in that market. So if you are, for example, if you are the United States, let's say, and then there's Canada, and the market is North America, something to this extent, and you're exporting maple syrup, if you have a bigger trade advantage and you're the USA, this means you get to run the trade, and so you get to use the trade efficiency if only a certain amount of exports are going to go out. This means that you ideally would want to have a trade advantage, and this maybe makes it so that, some countries in your market end up going for production efficiency, while others look to acquire enough trade advantage that they are the ones who get to do the outgoing trade. If you can't do or beat the people with the bigger trade advantage, then you're probably shoehorned into going after production efficiency because you will not necessarily be able to reap the benefits of trade efficiency without a trade advantage. And so we see kind of the murmurings of specialization in terms of economies here, because we know that different countries, depending on your techs, which are unique to companies to some extent, your government type, what you have going on with your estates, you will have a varying source of advantages, and trade advantage does seem like it's going to be a particularly important one, because if a really profitable route could be run, the fact that you get to run the route, I think, is significant. We see market attraction. This impacts how much pull a market center has over a location to make it part of a market. As we play Sweden here, and currently don't have a market, big Sag, it is not that important to us. We see trade maintenance. Trading is not free, as ships, wagons, and caravans need to be maintained, and the merchants themselves need to be paid. This, of course, makes some sense, and it will be some of this frictional costs to trade to make it so you can't trade all over the place. Market protection. Protectionism, it is a desire to keep trade within one's own country. This is represented by one location modifier and one country modifier, which reduce a location's likelihood of belonging to foreign markets. This does make sense, and so if you have a location that is on the border of being, or is on the borderline of being in one market or the other, it's going to have a preference for your market. But since this is a modifier, market protection, this means that if you have a really big value here, you will be able to pull more and more locations into your market as long as you have direct control over them, which does seem to be good, because I think a bigger market is going to be better, just generally speaking, and so having this ability to establish more control, or like whatever your primary market is, it's better to have as many of your states in there as possible, I have to imagine, the way they set it up with the modifiers. So it's an interesting modifier here, and you can imagine a world where you go for production efficiency and market protection, and maybe you're playing as the HRE or something, or and then you just look to swallow up and have this really, really big, strong market where you're producing things very, very efficiently, very cheaply, and then with those cheap goods, you get to feed them into your other stuff, and you have this sort of build tall effect. Or you could maybe, end up building tall effectively through trade, where you have maybe a smaller country, the market protection is not as important because it doesn't expand out far enough. Thinking of the Netherlands here, where market protection is probably not very useful because you're not controlling too many locations anyways, and you instead look to do a whole lot of trade to bring the resources in rather than producing them yourself. We see down here is trade capacity. This is if we have any bonuses to how much capacity each merchant has in all of our markets. This represents how much a country can export and or import from a market or to a market. Each trade created from this market uses merchant capacity depending on the distance to the other market and the volume of goods that a trade is doing. Since we are gated not just by value, but by the amount of trade capacity we have and the amount of merchants we have, I think that this is also one of the things that's going to throttle throttle the overall volume of trade that is occurring. We have to some degree, trade will be throttled by the amount that we have to pay, the trade maintenance, and then it'll also be throttled by capacity in order to keep the number of routes low. And this will also make it so that markets are better able to specialize, because if you could trade a whole lot, eventually all markets will start to look somewhat similar, which I imagine starts to happen at the end of the game, towards the game's end date, where globalization was much more of a thing. But trade capacity is a way in which you can keep economies more local earlier on, before you acquire as much trade capacity, on a kind of a global scale. And then later in the game, as trade capacity increases, markets will shift to being more globalized, I assume. And this does seem to be a reasonable mechanic for doing this. We see trade range. This is how far merchants can reach, and determines how distant the markets we can trade with be. This is calculated from any market we have merchants in. I assume that as you get more trade range, it will also decrease the price of going like 50% of your trade range. So if you have a trade range of 1,000, or maybe this isn't the case, but if you have a trade range of 1,000, maybe it's a fixed cost to trade with something that's 500 distance from your market. And then if you doubled your trade range to 2,000, maybe it costs the same amount to now trade a 1,000 distance from your market, where the cost is always you're trading 50% of your max trade range. Although it doesn't say this is maybe something that would be reasonable, although also reasonable would be it's just a fixed cost based on distance. Below, we have a search bar and a filtered list. This is something you have pretty much every screen with a list of objects in Project Caesar. The search bar allows you to just type in what you're looking for and check the names or any of the relevant information that is connected with the elements of the list. This filter allows you to toggle any data. So we see market and some filters, whether we have presence, it has pops, we have trade capacity, no trade capacity, in range, this type of stuff. Really do like when we can apply various filters to things in terms of the UI. This is always helpful. Sometimes UIs are super clunky, and it's always frustrating when you know exactly what you're looking for, but you can't like filter it or sort. Sorting is also okay. So if you could sort by presence, or sort by pops, or sort by trade capacity, then obviously you could make it so that it emits all these things that you do not currently have. But let's focus on the market entry of Riga then. This is a UI widget, which we will refer to as the market card, that you'll see in several screens, and it gives you information about the market while allowing you to do quick actions. So we see Riga. I assume this to the left is our trade capacity. This maybe is our power in there, second out of 14, and some other kind of little widget things, and a little bit of food here, which is showing, what our balance of food is in the Riga market. The flag and name do not need to be explained, thank you. In the top right corner, we have an automation button, which allows you to toggle between trade automation for the market. Really just generally pleased with the automation in general. We kind of talked about it extensively with the armies being able to be given objectives in that dev diary, but the more things you can automate out, the better in a general sense, because what you can do is you can decide what you want to focus on in game and play the game in the style that you are interested in. The more things that can be automated in an intelligent way. Or if you want to just like move through the years really fast, you can. Or if you want to micromanage everything, you can do that too. And so I really do like that. It seems that they're adding a whole lot of ability to automate. Very often with strategy games, there is a bit of a trade-off in that in order to try and achieve more depth, games add complexity. And if the complexity doesn't have any interesting decision-making, and it is instead just kind of a lot of button clicking, kind of with heuristics you've memorized, then it's not necessarily that fun. And if you do find the systems to feel that way, often being able to click something that automates it makes the game a little bit more of an enjoyable experience. Or maybe microing the market's a little bit better, but it's super like marginal. It's only like a 1% difference, although economic efficiency always happens at the margin. But let's say you just can't be bothered. You could click this, or if you have to manage dozens of markets, maybe you only have one or two that are worth you automating. And I do like that it does seem that you can automate individual markets rather than automate everything. If we see here, we have the button that we could click for both. So this seems good. This first shows the amount of trade capacity and the available and the amount, how much you have in the market. So this is the 0 out of 2, 2 out of 2. If you click on it, it would open the building overview tab with this market filtered, and with all the buildings you have and could build, that could increase your trade capacity in the market. Okay, this makes sense. We could try and increase the trade capacity. The second shows our position. That's this second out of it's the second out of 14. Not only is it the second, we're also the second. Shows our position in the market when it comes to trade advantage, and clicking it will open up your trades with the filter for the market so that you can quickly change your trades. So we can operate some of the more profitable trades for the market, knowing that we will receive some priority. The third button shows how many types of goods you have some sort of lack for when it comes to your constructions or the requirements of the buildings in this market. And so we see this yellow, this is what we need. The banner is shown only if there are goods lacking, yellow if buildings are inefficient due to lacking some of the goods, and red if there is a blocker. If you click it, you get to the good screen and with the needs and the market filters selected. So it'll just show you what you need. The fourth is similar to the third. Indeed it is. But this is about the needs of your pops in the market. This banner goes red if you have pops in the market that are actively part of a rebel faction. Yikes. If you click on it, you get access to the good screen with the needs and the market filters selected. Sounds fantastic. Below here is the tooltip for this button, the red button. Our pops need stuff in the Riga market. Some of our pops in the market are missing goods that are joining active rebels. Addressing their needs might help to prevent this revolt, and we are missing a little bit of wine, a little bit of cloth, and some silver and gold. Yeah, I'd be upset too if I lacked some wine. True. The fifth button, which is the one that shows kind of this apple with the plus 155, shows the current food balance in the market. If you click on it in the food, you will go to the food screen with any locations in the market you can get food from in the filter. If the province is starving or likely to starve in the next 6 months, you will see alerts here as well. So we will see more color coding, hopefully, in the same way we have a yellow and red color coding here. Perhaps this also gets color coded in some way so that, when we look in the UI, when we look in the UI and see in coming back to this markets tab, when we see in the UI all these markets that we are a part of, we will at a glance be able to determine various things going on, right? The Lubeck market, we have some pop needs, they're not too bad, huge surplus of food relatively speaking, so we're probably fine there, and then no input difficulties. And so maybe the first thing we do is we try and solve the government input difficulties. Maybe we import wine for Johan, who knows? And so let's end by taking a quick look at what the goods panel shows when we did the fourth click button. Okay, the fourth click, of course, being this pops one, we see the pops need, and we will see, hey, it looks like we can, is this to construct a building that would maybe do something here? I'm not sure exactly what this is. Looks like it's maybe we're trading for this thing. Market widget at the top, as mentioned above, where it acts as a filter, but for the information displayed below, the buttons allow you to quickly toggle to the next market we have presence in, or remove the market filter and see data for your whole country. Okay, fair enough. I think this is that, so we can see for the whole country. Normal search bar and lots of possible filters. The pop needs filters present, so the list only displays the goods that our pops are currently demanding. Fantastic. Let's explain this list with the 4 entries. First is there's an icon of the goods. There's the wine. Second, there's a vertical progress bar, which shows how much some of the goods are stockpiled in the filter market. Obviously, it's empty here, so this is the stockpile. Third is the monthly balance of the market, which is red and negative, so we need to do something about it. It is. Fourth is the price in the market with gold and silver icons relating to indicating relative price. Wine being more expensive than the default price, indicating the imports can be profitable here. But the other stuff maybe not as expensive over the top. We've seen this similar type of thing in Victoria 3 in terms of representing the AI. or UI, sorry. Then we have 2 buttons for importing and exporting. The export button is grayed out as there is no surplus. Makes sense. We have some capacity, so we could attempt to import about 2 goods of any type. And so we see we can import here. After that is the expand RGO button. Cloth can be cannot be expanded since it's a raw material, but the other 2s are grayed out as there is no wine production in Sweden and there are no gold or silver mines. The Sala silver mine was not present in 1337, but there is a nice DHE for it. If any of the RGOs were available, clicking on the button would open the expand RGO screen with all the locations you own with that raw material in the filter. So let's take a look. This is the expand RGO button. The number on the button shows the profit of the most profitable RGO that you can expand in your territory. So again, just taking a quick look here, we can't expand the cloth because this is a natural resource, but the other ones, in theory, if there was a spot for us to be able to expand that RGO, we would. The final button is the build button that produces that goods button. If you click it, it would open the buildings overview tab with this market filtered, and with all the buildings you could build to produce that good in the market. Now, the quick thinking of you will ask, wine? Yes, there's a production method for breweries that can turn fruit into wine. This, of course, makes sense. And let's just take a quick look at it. We can turn this into wine, or we can turn fruit into wine. Interestingly, we have one for cloth as well. I wonder if this is going to be turning yarn or something like this into wine, but we could build this. And so by doing this, we could figure out a way to address the needs and issues in our country. The thing is, there's going to be a lot of moving parts here. And so examining this, once we get our hands on it in much greater detail, is going to be interesting. Because the price, well, we don't know how accurate the tooltips are going to be. Often the tooltips will not necessarily inform us all that well. I don't know. I want to get my hands on a game and play around with it. I'm just thinking if this takes into account that the price will drop. Right now, the price is 3.66. As we increase the price, or as we increase the supply, generally the price will drop. This types of things, and so some things are more price sensitive than others. Will it take into account the increase of the inputs, the increase in price of the inputs, this type of stuff? But very much does this look like it is using, because it is, the kind of supply and demand mechanisms to some extent in Victoria 3 in order to simulate price or buy and sell orders. The difference is that there is, in Victoria 3, pops can consume phantom goods, or phantom goods can get consumed, and it doesn't seem to be that same case that we are seeing here in Tinto, or Project Caesar, in that you will have an ability to access the market. If the market access is low, you will not get prioritized at all in receiving the good, and so the people with the low market access in the market they're just out of luck, and then they run a shortage, and this type of thing. But anyways, this has been kind of a nice little trip through the UI and seeing some of how the trade works. Cheers. Next week we will be back with the regular scheduled programming, except this was regularly scheduled. It was just not the programming we thought it was going to be, based on what they said last week. But anyways, I hope you enjoyed. If you did, please feel free to like, comment, subscribe. Do the YouTube algorithm thing. And other than that, have a happy Wednesday.